"I'm not surprised," Brigitte whispered back. "She's grown into such a beauty." Maeve rolled her eyes. Right. As if all those suitors were interested only in her appearance, not the fact that all 4 of her sisters were now queens. "I know of at least 1 duke, 3 earls, and a dozen or so barons who claim to be smitten with her," Luciana continued. "Oh, my!" Brigitte clasped her hands together. "A duke would be perfect." Maeve sighed. She didn't want a duke. She wanted a dog. Luciana chuckled. "I wonder if the duke will be dressed in purple or green." Maeve stiffened at the reference to the telling stones. The number 3, the colours purple and green. Those were the stones that had predicted her future. And she hated it. She hadn't wanted to play the game of stones. In fact, the stones had only fallen out of the chalice because of her refusal to play. So maybe they didn't count? But the pebble marked with the number 3 seemed too fitting to discount. There were only 3 members left in the Circle of 5, a murderous group intent on taking over the world. No one knew who the first 2 members were, but no doubt the chameleon was the 3rd. And 3 also matched the number of kings the evil shifter had killed. Frederick of Eberron, Gunther of Turin, and Petrus of Norveshka. The chameleon had caused trouble in Woodwen too, shifting into a dragon to kidnap their sister Sorcha. Whoever he was, he had proven impossible to catch, since no one knew what he really looked like. Only Brody could identify him by his scent. And what had happened to Brody? "Excuse me." Maeve headed toward the door. "I think I'll take a turn on the deck." "No doubt the fresh air will do you good," Luciana said, as Maeve slipped out the door on the barge's port side. Closing her eyes, she lifted her face to the warm sun and took a deep breath. A summer breeze feathered her cheeks and brought several scents to her nose. The sweat of hard-working sailors, the earthy smell of nearby farmland, and most importantly, the familiar scent of the Ebe River. All her life she'd felt a strange connection to bodies of water. She'd always known whenever a storm was brewing over the great Western Ocean, and she'd been able to communicate with seals and other creatures of the sea. Now that she was able to actually shift into a seal, she was even more attuned to water. With just a sniff, she knew which ocean, which river, which lake, even which well a sample of water came from. More than that, water had become a second home to her, as comforting as her bedchamber at Epton Palace. The river called to her, inviting her to jump in and shift. Let the water carry her weight, buoy her burdens, and wash away her worries. Not now. She opened her eyes and glanced up at the sun. It was high in the sky, so it had to be almost noon. She wandered toward the bow of the barge, passing by the sailors who stood at the railing, using poles to keep the vessel floating down the deepest channel of the Ebe River. Eberoni soldiers, under the command of Colonel Nevis Harden, stood watch every few feet. Nevis and his troop had met the women and children this morning in Verushka, and would see them safely down the river. Once they arrived at Epton, a troop of Turinian soldiers would be waiting to escort Brigitte north to the capital of Turin, where she ruled with her husband. For the last 3 years, Maeve had been living at Epton Palace. Although she was happy to be with her eldest sister, she always missed the other 3 something terrible. And so she'd been delighted when they had all been reunited for 3 weeks at Wendeler's Palace, in the elfin kingdom of Woodwen. There the 4th sister, Sorcha, had married Brennan, the elfin king.